Okay guys, this should be the last video for today. So we're going to be using the inverse function to solve for angles in a right triangle. So notice that if you were to you choose the second button on your calculator and then choose a trig function such as sine, cosine, or tangent. Notice that above the button in a different color it has sine inverse, looks like sine to the -1, but it really means sine inverse, cosine inverse, and tangent inverse. So you are going to use these functions when you have the side lengths but you don't have the angle measures. And this only works in a right triangle for the way that we're going to do this now. So remember that you use an inverse function to undo something. So you want to get this x by itself because x is your angle measure. And so in your calculator, we were going to end up putting sine inverse, because the sine and the sine inverse are going to cancel each other out on the left. And on the right hand side, you'll have sine inverse 1 divided by 2. Make sure you put that in parentheses. And you should get back the x is somewhere about 30 degrees. Another example would be cosine of 1. So your ratio of your sides, opposite, or the adjacent leg over the hypotenuse, is going to be 1. You're going to undo the cosine. So to undo the cosine, you have to use cosine inverse. And you'll do that to both sides. And you're going to get x is equal to the cosine inverse of 1. And when you put that in your calculator, you're going to get 0 degrees. So use those examples to use your calculator just to solve for x here. So to solve for x, you're going to use the inverse tangent here, the sine inverse here, and the cosine inverse here, and the tangent inverse here. So pause your video or stop your video, write these problems down because I'm going to check for them in your notebook. So please tell your neighbors if they're not doing the work, they better get it done because I'm going to check for it tomorrow. Alright, so that's just kind of learning how to set up the problems using the inverse and then how to put it into your calculator. So let's see how you are going to work this out if you have if you're being asked to find, it's covered up, but it says to find the measures of the acute angles in a right triangle. So remember, the two acute angles of a right triangle are complementary, which means they add to equal 90. So if I find one angle measure, I certainly could subtract from 90 and get the second one. So here's your triangle. You have two side lengths. You have the opposite leg length from A, and you have the hypotenuse. So if I ask you to find the measure of angle A and the measure of angle B, if we want to find the measure of angle A, we certainly could use the sine of A because sine is opposite leg over the hypotenuse. How do you hypotenuse? That highlight the O for opposite, H for hypotenuse because those are the numbers you have, and that tells you to use the sine because sine is opposite and hypotenuse. So you set up your ratio, undo the sine on the left-hand side, use the sine inverse. And so in your calculator, you're going to push second sine. There's parentheses that will open automatically. 11.2 divided by 65.5, close your parentheses, hit enter, and you should get that the measure of angle A is 9.8. Now, I could subtract that from 90 and get the measure of angle B. But let me show you how you can use trig again if you'd like to get some more practice to find the measure of angle B. So this time if we use the cosine of B, because 11.2 is the adjacent leg to angle B, and we're going to put that over the hypotenuse, use the inverse cosine again to get rid of the cosine on the left-hand side and be left with just B. B is going to be in your calculator. You're going to put in cosine inverse, so second cosine, 11.2 divided by 65.8. Close your parentheses and hit enter, and you should get that the measure of angle B is 80.2. And if you add those two angle measures, ta-da, they'll equal 90. So make sure that you understand how to work this problem out before moving forward, because this is going to be your example for the next problem. So if you need to pause it, stop it, do whatever. Find the measure of angle A and the measure of angle B. So you've got two side lengths. Make sure that you label your sides. Let me go back and talk. Whoops. You're going to go back, or I'm going to go back, and let's see where we are. Let's go quickly to, let's see, I want to go to this last slide right here. Make sure that you've got this copied down. Make sure that you are, that you have all the parts marked down. Make sure you label your sides. If you're going to use these two sides here, then you should have the opposite leg is 10.8, adjacent leg is 24.7. If you're going to use A, you can use the tangent function, opposite and adjacent, and you can do the same thing with B. So use the last problem. If you need to watch it more, do so and get your use it as an example to get the answers for this one. I'm going to check tomorrow. Same thing here. You are going to use, I don't know why this little start slide from the current slide. There we go. Let's go. Let's try this again. So here, giving me a little bit of trouble here this morning. So I'll go to the last slide here, and you're going to use this problem, copy it down, and do the same thing. Find the measure of angle A and B. So your homework tonight is to finish homework sheet 1 and then get homework sheet 2, and tomorrow we'll go over any questions that you may have about setting these up and how to work them out. But I believe that if you kind of go back and look at the videos more than once, that should be helpful. Make sure you're taking notes, and I will see you tomorrow.